Before we begin, a quick and important disclaimer. The information provided in this video is for general informational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional advice. The content does not constitute legal, financial, or psychological counseling. We are not lawyers, financial advisors, or licensed therapists. Navigating a divorce involves complex decisions unique to your situation. Please consult with a qualified professional in your state to address your specific needs. The ink on the paper is dry. The lawyer shakes your hand. And then silence. It's a silence so loud it feels like an explosion. You walk out into the sunlight, and the world looks exactly the same, but you are fundamentally different. You're holding a document that says you're single, but you don't feel single. You feel amputated, like a massive part of your identity, your history, your future has been surgically removed. And in its place is a giant, terrifying question mark. What now? If you're watching this, you know that feeling. You're standing in the rubble of what used to be your life, and you're wondering how you'll ever rebuild. Maybe you're terrified about money. In the United States, a woman's household income drops on average by a staggering 41% after divorce. That's not a statistic, that's a real-world crisis happening in homes across the country. Maybe you're consumed by a loneliness so profound it physically hurts. Maybe you look in the mirror and you don't even recognize the person staring back at you. Who are you without your other half? Let me tell you something right now. Everything you are feeling is valid. The anger, the grief, the fear, the confusion, even the moments of strange, exhilarating relief. It's all part of this. And most importantly, this is not the end of your story. It's the violent, messy, and necessary demolition that has to happen before you can build something new. Something stronger. Something that is 100% authentically yours. This isn't just another video about getting over it. This is a roadmap. A practical step-by-step blueprint designed specifically for rebuilding your life in America after a divorce. We're going to move beyond the platitudes and the vague advice. We're going to give you a concrete plan to navigate the emotional turmoil, stabilize your finances, rediscover your identity, and build a future that doesn't just feel survivable, but feels exciting. A life you are genuinely in love with. So where do we start? We start where any good builder starts, with an honest assessment of the foundation. Before you can build, you have to know exactly what you're working with. I call this the great post-divorce audit. It's a top-to-bottom, no-holds-barred inventory of your life as it exists right now. It has 4 critical parts: financial, emotional, social, and identity. Ignoring any one of these is like trying to build a house with 3 walls. It will eventually collapse. Let's start with the one that keeps most people up at night: the financial audit. This is where you face the numbers head-on. For years, you probably thought in terms of we and our. Our mortgage, our savings, our debt. That word is gone now. It's just my. And that can be terrifying. You need to get a crystal clear picture of your new financial reality. I want you to get a notebook or open a spreadsheet and list everything. And I mean everything. First, your income. What is your sole individual take-home pay? No more combined household income. Just you. Second, your assets. What is in your name and your name alone? Your portion of the 401k or IRA. The savings account that is now just yours. The value of the car, the house if you kept it. Third, your debts. The credit card debt that's now your sole responsibility. Student loans. Your name on the mortgage or car loan. You have to see the unvarnished truth. Fourth, and this is the most important, your new budget. Your expenses have changed dramatically. You might be paying for rent or a mortgage on your own for the first time in years. You're now solely responsible for utilities, groceries, and critically, health insurance. If you were on your spouse's plan, you need to be looking at Cobra, the ACA marketplace, or your employer's options immediately. This isn't something to put off. Your financial survival depends on knowing exactly how much money is coming in and exactly where it's going out. This isn't about judgment. It's about power. Knowledge is power, and right now you need to reclaim every ounce of power you can. Next, we move to the emotional audit. So many people try to skip this step. They try to power through the pain, numb it with work or activity, or pretend they're fine. This is a recipe for disaster. Unprocessed grief doesn't disappear. It metastasizes. It will show up later in bad relationships, poor financial decisions, and chronic anxiety. You need to ask yourself with brutal honesty, where am I today on the spectrum of grief? You've probably heard of the 5 stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. But here's the secret. It's not a neat linear ladder you climb. It's a chaotic scribble. You might feel rage in the morning, deep sadness in the afternoon, and a moment of peaceful acceptance in the evening. That's normal. The goal of the emotional audit is not to force yourself to feel better. It's to simply identify what you're feeling without judgment. Are you angry? Good. Write it down. What are you angry about? Be specific. Are you sad? Let yourself feel it. What memories are triggering the sadness? By naming the emotion, you take away its power to control you from the shadows. You're bringing it out into the light where you can look at it, understand it, and begin to process it. Third, the social audit. Divorce doesn't just end a marriage. It detonates a social circle. Friends you thought you'd have for life suddenly disappear. Some feel awkward. Some are forced to choose a side. It's a painful secondary loss that few people talk about. So, it's time to take inventory of your real support system. Get that notebook out again. Make 2 columns. In the first column, list the radiators, the people who give off warmth, the friends who check in, who listen without judgment, who bring you soup, who don't care if you cry. These are your people. In the second column, list the drains. These are the people who make you feel exhausted after you talk to them, the ones who offer unsolicited advice, who gossip, who subtly blame you, or who constantly bring up your ex. Your emotional energy is your most precious resource right now. You cannot afford to waste it on drains. This audit isn't about cutting people off forever, but it is about consciously deciding who gets access to you during this incredibly vulnerable time. You need to surround yourself with radiators. Finally, and this is the most exciting part, we have the identity audit. For years, maybe decades, a huge part of your identity was husband or wife. You were part of a unit. You made decisions as a we. Now that's gone. And while it's scary, it's also an incredible opportunity. The question is no longer who are we, but who am I? What did you love to do before you were married? What hobbies did you let slide? Was it painting, hiking, playing guitar, learning a language? What dreams did you put on a shelf to support the family or the marriage? Did you want to go back to school? Start a small business? Travel somewhere specific? This isn't about blaming your ex or regretting the past. It's about excavation. You are an archaeologist digging up the buried treasures of your own soul. List out every interest, every passion, every curiosity you've ever had, no matter how small or silly it seems. This list is the seed bank for your new life. It's the raw material you will use to build a new identity, one that isn't defined by your relationship status, but by your passions and your purpose. So there it is, the great audit: financial, emotional, social, and identity. This is your starting point. It's the raw, unvarnished truth of where you stand today. It might not be pretty. In fact, it will probably be messy and uncomfortable. But it's real. And you cannot build a new life on a foundation of denial or wishful thinking. You have to start from the hard truth. Completing this audit is your first massive step away from being a victim of your circumstances and toward becoming the architect of your future. It gives you a baseline, a map of the terrain. Once you have this honest data, you have everything you need to begin building. So let's talk about building. Because right now, looking at that raw, unfiltered data from your audit, you probably don't feel like an architect. You probably feel like you're standing in the rubble of a demolished building, holding a single brick, with no idea where to even start. The sheer scale of the task, rebuilding your finances, your social life, your home, your identity, it's overwhelming. It can trigger a kind of analysis paralysis that keeps you stuck in the dust and debris. This is why the first step isn't to start laying a new foundation for your entire life. That's too big. The first step is to build a shelter, a command post, a sanctuary. Before you can plan a campaign, you need a secure base of operations, a place where you can catch your breath, shut out the noise, and think clearly. This isn't a luxury. It is a tactical necessity. Your number one priority is to create a space, both physically and mentally, that is unequivocally 100% yours. Let's start with the physical. Look around your home. Whether you stayed in the marital house or you're in a new apartment, chances are it's filled with ghosts. The chair he always sat in, the coffee mugs you bought together, the photos on the wall. Each object is a tiny emotional landmine, waiting to go off when you least expect it. Many people think they need to just get over it and live with these things. That is a profound mistake. You are engaged in the psychological battle of your life, and you cannot win that battle if you're living in an enemy museum. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to perform a spatial exorcism. You need to reclaim your territory, Start with one room. Just one. Don't try to do the whole house at once. That's another recipe for overwhelm. Pick the most important room for your personal peace, usually the bedroom. Your bedroom needs to become a fortress of solitude and restoration. Take everything out of that room that doesn't serve the new you. Everything. Photos of the two of you? Gone. Gifts from them you never really liked? Gone. The bedding you shared? Gone. This isn't about anger or erasing history. This is about clearing the air so you can breathe. It's a declaration of sovereignty. You are taking back your space inch by inch. Then, you consciously and deliberately fill it with things that are just for you. This doesn't have to be expensive. It's not about a big renovation. Buy new sheets in a color you love. Get a $10 plant. Find a piece of art online that speaks to you. Change the light bulb to a warmer or cooler tone. Paint one wall a color that makes you feel calm or energized. These small, controllable acts of personalization send a powerful signal to your subconscious. Asterisk, this space is mine. I am in control here. I am safe here. Asterisk, when the rest of your life feels like a chaotic storm, this one room becomes your anchor, the eye of the hurricane where you can recharge. Once you've secured your physical sanctuary, you must build your mental sanctuary. Because the intrusions won't just be from objects in your home. They'll be from people in your life. Friends, family, coworkers, your ex's family. Suddenly everyone has an opinion. Everyone has advice. Everyone wants to know the details. Are you okay? Have you heard from them? You should get on a dating app. You shouldn't get on a dating app. While often well-intentioned, this constant barrage of input is exhausting. It forces you to relive and re-explain your trauma over and over again. You must become the ruthless gatekeeper of your own mind. This is where you establish an information diet. You decide what comes in and what stays out. You have the absolute right to say, "I appreciate you asking, but I'm not going to talk about that right now." You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't owe them your story. Your healing is not a spectator sport. Create what I call a no-fly zone. These are topics and sometimes people that are temporarily off-limits. Maybe you decide that for the next 30 days, you will not discuss your ex with anyone except your therapist. When a friend brings it up, you calmly enforce the no-fly zone. "Hey, I'm actually taking a break from talking about that. How's your new project going?" You are redirecting the conversation. You are controlling the airspace. This is about conserving your energy. Think of your emotional and mental energy like a phone battery that's stuck at 15%. A divorce drains it almost completely. Every pointless conversation, every piece of unsolicited advice, every time you have to defend your decisions, it's like an app running in the background, draining that precious little power you have left. Learning to say no, setting these boundaries is how you close those apps and start to recharge. Your energy must be preserved for the most important tasks. Healing yourself and building your future. Anyone or anything that drains that energy without contributing to your recovery is a liability you cannot afford right now. Your physical sanctuary and your mental sanctuary work together. When you walk into your reclaimed bedroom, that peaceful personal space reinforces the mental boundaries you've set. It's a tangible reminder that you have the power to create pockets of peace and order in the midst of chaos. Proves to you on a daily basis that you can take control. Think of it like this. Imagine you're a commander whose army has just survived a brutal, disorienting battle. You've managed to retreat to a new position, but you're in unfamiliar territory, your supplies are low, and your soldiers are exhausted. What's the first thing you do? You don't immediately plan a new massive attack. No, the first order is always the same. Secure the perimeter. You set up a defensive position. You establish a base camp, a safe zone where your troops can rest, get medical attention, eat and regroup. You put guards on watch to control who comes in and who goes out. Only from within that secure, established base can you begin to assess your strength, check your resources, and strategically plan your next move. That is what you are doing right now. Your home is your base camp. Your mental boundaries are the guards on the perimeter. You have survived the main battle of the divorce, but the war for your new life has just begun. And you can't fight it effectively if you're constantly under siege from your own memories and other people's opinions. So before we even touch the big scary topics like money, custody, or dating, before all that, you must first build your shelter. Declutter and reclaim one physical room. Set firm, unapologetic boundaries to create a mental safe space. This is your non-negotiable first mission. It's not about hiding from the world. It's about creating a fortified position from which to engage with the world on your own terms. With your base camp secured and your perimeter established, you've done more than just survive. You've created the one thing you need most: a stable platform from which to launch your counteroffensive. And the first target on our list is the one that causes the most fear and sleepless nights: your money. Let's be brutally honest. Nothing feels more like a freefall than watching a life's worth of financial security get sliced in half. It's a unique kind of terror. One minute you're planning for retirement, the next you're staring at a bank balance that feels like a typo, wondering how you're going to cover rent and groceries. The numbers on the screen don't just represent money. They represent your past, your sacrifices, and a future that just vanished. This is the financial fog of war. It's confusing, it's disorienting, and it's designed to make you freeze. But you are not going to freeze. You are going to fight back. This is not about becoming a Wall Street wizard overnight. This is about financial triage. When a medic arrives at a battle, they don't start with long-term physical therapy. They stop the bleeding. That is our only mission right now: to stop the financial bleeding and stabilize the patient. You are the patient. The first step is the hardest because it requires a level of honesty most of us avoid even in the best of times. We need to conduct a full damage assessment. You cannot win a war without an accurate map of the terrain. So take a deep breath, grab a notebook or open a spreadsheet, and prepare to face the unvarnished truth. First, your assets. What do you own right now today that is solely yours? Not what you used to have. Not what you shared. What is in your name? This includes the cash in your new checking and savings accounts, the current value of your 401k or IRA, the Kelley Blue Book value of your car. If you own a home, its estimated market value. List every single thing of value. Be meticulous. This is your arsenal. Next, and this is the one that makes your stomach clench, your debts. What do you owe? Again, we're talking about what is now your sole responsibility. Credit card balances, your car loan, your mortgage, student loans, any personal loans. It is absolutely critical that you identify any joint debts that weren't settled in the divorce. A joint credit card doesn't magically split itself. If your name is on it, you are legally on the hook for the entire amount no matter what your divorce decree says. I once worked with a man, let's call him David, who assumed his ex was paying off their old joint credit card as they'd agreed. A year later, he was getting calls from debt collectors. His credit score was destroyed. He learned the hard way: trust but verify. Get a copy of your credit report immediately. It's free. Know exactly what debt is tied to your name. Now income. What is actually coming in every month? Your net pay after taxes, after insurance. Not your gross salary. If you're receiving child support or alimony, add that in. Be conservative. If a source of income isn't guaranteed, don't count it yet. We're building our fortress on bedrock, not sand. Finally, the most important piece of intelligence you can gather: your expenses. You need to track every single dollar that leaves your hands. I'm not talking about guessing. I'm talking about opening your bank and credit card statements for the last 90 days and categorizing every single transaction. This is the unvarnished truth audit. That $5 coffee that Amazon purchased, that subscription you forgot you had. It all goes on the list. No shame, no judgment. This isn't a moral inventory. It's data collection. You are a detective hunting for clues about where your money is going. When you're done, you will have the 4 most important numbers in your new life. What you own, what you owe, what you earn, and what you spend. This is your map. Now that we can see the battlefield, we can stop the bleeding. We're going to implement a temporary scorched earth budget. Forget fancy apps and complicated systems. We are going back to basics. We are focused on securing your 4 walls. This is a concept from financial expert Dave Ramsey, and in a crisis, it is life-saving. Your only financial priorities in this order are: 1. Housing, your rent or mortgage. You must keep a roof over your head. 2. Utilities, the lights, the heat, the water. 3. Transportation, the gas and insurance you need to get to your job, the source of your income. And 4. Food, basic, a trip to the grocery store food. That's it. For right now, nothing else matters. Netflix, gone. Gym membership, canceled. Eating out, happy hours, new clothes? A hard no. I know this sounds harsh. Sounds like deprivation. But I want you to reframe it. This is not deprivation. This is discipline. This is you telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Every dollar you don't spend on a subscription is a dollar that's building a wall around your 4 walls. It's a temporary sacrifice for permanent security. This phase won't last forever, but it is the non-negotiable price of stability. With the bleeding stopped, we need to build a tiny bit of armor. The old advice of a 3 to 6 month emergency fund is a cruel joke when you're just trying to make it to Friday. It's so overwhelming it can make you quit before you even start. So we're not going to do that. Our first mission is to build what I call a $1,000 Get Right Fund. This isn't an emergency fund for losing your job. This is a fund to stop life's small annoyances from becoming major financial catastrophes. It's the money that keeps a flat tire from going on a credit card. It's the copay for an unexpected trip to the doctor. It's the cash that prevents a small leak from turning into a full-blown crisis. Scrape together this $1,000 as fast as you can. Work extra hours. Sell stuff you don't need. Pause your retirement contributions for a few months if you have to. Getting this $1,000 in a separate savings account is the single most powerful first step you can take. It's your first taste of real financial control. It's a buffer between you and the chaos. It's the first brick in your new foundation. While you're doing this, you must also perform a financial separation. You are no longer a we. You are an I. This needs to be reflected legally and logistically. If you haven't already, open a new checking and savings account at a completely different bank from the one you use jointly. This creates a clean break. Get a new credit card in your name only. Even if it has a low limit, start using it for one small recurring bill like your cell phone, and pay it off in full every single month. This begins the crucial process of building your own independent credit history. And this next part is not a suggestion, it is an order. Today, log into every single financial account you have. Your 401k, your life insurance, your investment accounts. Check the beneficiary. If it still lists your ex-spouse, change it. Now, in most states, a divorce does not automatically revoke a beneficiary designation. I have seen horror stories of ex-spouses inheriting everything because someone forgot this one simple 10-minute task. Protect your future. Protect your legacy. Change your passwords, change your beneficiaries, and sever the final financial ties. This process is your declaration of financial independence. It's more than just numbers on a page. It's about reclaiming power in an area of your life where you feel completely powerless. I remember a client, Sarah, who came to me in tears, clutching a box of bills. She felt like she was drowning. We walked through these exact steps. The audit was painful. The bare-bones budget was a shock to her system. But then she saved her first $1,000. The look on her face wasn't just relief. It was pride. For the first time in months, she slept through the night. She wasn't just surviving, she was building. You've now done the emotional triage, you've secured your base, and you've begun to take control of your financial world. You've built a fortress, but the toughest battles aren't fought with spreadsheets and bank accounts. They are fought in the 6 inches between your ears. In the next part, we're going to war with the ghosts of your past marriage, and we are going to reclaim your mind. This war is silent. There are no explosions, no screaming officers, no ground to take. There is only the relentless, grinding hum of your own thoughts. It's the 3 a.m. replay of the argument that started it all. It's the sudden gut-wrenching memory of a shared laugh while you're standing in the checkout line at the grocery store. It's the phantom limb of reaching for their hand in the car. These are the ghosts, and they have laid siege to your mind. Let's identify the enemy because you can't fight what you can't see. First, there's the ghost of what was. This is the most seductive one. It's a master filmmaker, playing a highlight reel of your marriage on a constant loop. It only shows you the perfect vacation, the day you brought your first child home, the inside jokes whispered in the dark. It conveniently edits out the silent dinners, the mounting resentment, the slow, painful drift apart. This ghost wants you to believe you lost a perfect thing, making the present feel impossibly bleak. Next comes its twisted twin, the ghost of what could have been. This ghost is a fantasy author, writing tragic novels about the future you'll never have. It torments you with visions of the retirement you planned, the grandchildren you would have held together, the golden anniversary party that will never happen. It sells you a story of a stolen future, leaving you mourning a life that never even existed. Then the heaviest of them all, the ghost of failure. This one is a relentless critic. Its voice sounds suspiciously like your own, but it's crueler. It whispers that you're not good enough, that you're unlovable, that you failed at the most fundamental human contract. It points to every other happy couple you see on the street and says, "See? They can do it. Why couldn't you?" This ghost feeds on your shame and wants to paralyze you with it, convincing you not to even try again. And finally, there is the ghost of anger. This ghost is a furnace. It wants to burn. It replays every betrayal, every lie, every word that was used as a weapon. It keeps the wounds fresh, picking at the scabs so they can never heal. While a little bit of anger is a healthy, motivating force, this ghost wants you to build a house out of your bitterness and live there forever. It convinces you that holding on to that red-hot rage is a way of punishing your ex, when in reality, you are the only one getting burned. These ghosts aren't just feelings. They are invaders. They've occupied the most valuable real estate in the world, your mind. They hijack your focus at work. They steal the joy from a beautiful sunset. They turn a happy song on the radio into an ambush of painful memories. Your mind is the battlefield, and for the last few weeks or months you've been losing territory. Today we arm you. Today we start the counteroffensive. Your first weapon is the most powerful and the most difficult to wield: radical acceptance. Notice I didn't say forgiveness. That's a different battle for a different day. Acceptance is simply looking at the reality of your situation without judgment and saying, "This is what is." Your marriage is over. It happened. You are divorced. Fighting this reality is like trying to push a river upstream. You can spend all of your energy, all of your strength fighting and splashing and cursing the current, but the river will always win. Radical acceptance is the act of letting go, turning around, and letting the current carry you. Doesn't mean you like it. It doesn't mean it was fair. It just means you are no longer wasting precious energy fighting a fact that cannot be changed. Say it out loud. This is my reality now. Feel the shift? That's the feeling of taking your power back from the past. Your second weapon is the pattern interrupt. Your brain is a creature of habit. The ghosts thrive on these neural pathways you've worn down by replaying the same painful thoughts over and over. We have to disrupt the signal. You need to create a pre-planned, immediate reaction for when a ghost appears. When the highlight reel starts playing, you physically stand up and walk into another room. When the voice of failure starts whispering, you say a predetermined phrase out loud. Not in your head. Out loud. Stop. That story is not true and it is not helpful. The vibration of your own voice is a powerful disruptor. Some people snap a rubber band on their wrist. It's not about punishment. It's about creating a physical sensation that jolts your brain out of its hypnotic loop. The ghost wants you to sit quietly and listen. Don't interrupt it every single time. Scramble the frequency. Weapon number 3 is narrative reframing. Right now, your ex might be the author of your story, or maybe the ghost of failure is. You need to fire them. You are the author. You hold the pen. The divorce is not the end of your book. It is the end of a chapter. A pivotal, dramatic chapter for sure, but not the final one. So how do you reframe? You consciously change the words you use. Instead of thinking, "My marriage failed," reframe it as, "My marriage is complete. It taught me what I need in a partner and what I will not accept." Instead of, "I was left, try. I am now available for a new and better chapter." This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about shifting your perspective from that of a victim to that of a protagonist. A protagonist learns. A protagonist grows. A protagonist overcomes the challenges of the chapter and moves the story forward. You are the hero of this story, not the casualty. Your fourth weapon is the gratitude offensive. This might sound soft, but it is a ruthless tactic. The ghosts of anger, loss, and failure cannot survive in a mind that is actively seeking out the good. They are like vampires in the sunlight. Your mission is to weaponize gratitude. Every single day, I want you to write down, pen to paper, 3 specific things you are grateful for. And here's the rule. They cannot be related to your past relationship. No, I'm grateful for the kids we had. That keeps you tethered. This is about your new life. Be specific. I am grateful for the taste of my morning coffee in my quiet kitchen. I am grateful for the friend who let me vent for 20 minutes without trying to fix it. I am grateful for the feeling of the sun on my face during my walk today. This practice forces your brain to scan the world for positives. It literally rewires your neural pathways, building new roads that lead away from the haunted, broken-down highways of your past. This is a long war of attrition. You will need reinforcements. This is not the time for ego or toughing it out alone. Find a therapist. Seriously, a good therapist isn't someone you pay to feel sorry for you. They are a strategist, a special operations coach for your mind. They have seen this battlefield before. They know the enemy's tactics, and they can give you a personalized battle plan that will save you months or even years of struggle. Going to therapy isn't a sign of weakness. It's the move of a brilliant general who is determined to win. And finally, you need to build your foxhole. Look at the people around you. Who energizes you? Who makes you feel like yourself? Who listens and who reminds you of your strength? Those are your soldiers. Bring them close. And just as importantly, who drains you? Who constantly brings up your ex? Who seems to enjoy your misery a little too much? You must limit your exposure to them. They are collaborators, knowingly or not, who are letting the ghosts inside your perimeter. Your emotional and mental energy is your most valuable resource right now. Protect it fiercely. Reclaiming your mind is the single most important task you will face in this entire process. It is the foundation upon which your new life will be built. You can have the perfect budget, the perfect house, the perfect job, but if your mind is still a haunted house, you will never be free. This work is hard. It is exhausting. But every time you interrupt a pattern, every time you reframe the story, every time you choose gratitude, you are taking back one more inch of territory. You are evicting the ghosts. You are telling them unequivocally that this mind is under new management. Once you start winning this internal war, you have to face the world again. You have to step out of the trenches and into the bright, awkward, and often confusing light of your new social life. Navigating that world, the questions from coworkers, the pitying looks from neighbors, the terror of walking into a party alone, is a battle of its own. In the next part, we're going to give you the social armor and the script you need to face that world, not as a divorced person, but simply as you. Let's start with the most dreaded question, the one that makes your stomach clench the second you see a familiar face at the grocery store. So, how are things? You know what they're really asking? They're asking about the divorce. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can let the awkwardness swallow you whole, or you can take control. This is the first piece of your social armor. The divorce statement. It's your pre-planned 60-second answer that is honest, brief, and boundary-setting. It's not a lie, and it's not an overshare. It's a tool. It sounds something like this. Thanks for asking. It's obviously been a challenging time, but we're both focused on moving forward in a positive way, especially for the kids. I'm actually really optimistic about the future. Or if you don't have kids. It was a difficult decision, but ultimately the right one for both of us. I'm taking this time to focus on myself, and honestly, it feels good. Let's break down why this works. First, it acknowledges the difficulty. You're not pretending it was nothing. Second, it signals closure. You use words like moving forward or the right one, which tells the other person that the drama is over, and you're not looking to rehash it. Third, it ends on a positive, forward-looking note. This is the critical part. It pivots the conversation away from the past and towards the future. You're not inviting them into your pain. You're showing them your resilience. Practice this. Say it out loud to yourself in the car. Get comfortable with the words. This isn't for them. It's for you. It's your polite, effective way of saying, I'm okay and this topic is now closed. Now let's talk about the friendship fallout. This is one of the most brutal, unexpected gut punches of divorce. The social circle you built together as a couple suddenly feels like a minefield. Friends you've had for a decade go silent. People you thought would be in your corner suddenly seem distant. It's a secondary heartbreak and it's completely real. You need a strategy for this, a kind of social triage. First, identify your ride or dies. These are the people who showed up. The ones who called, who texted, who didn't ask for details but just said, I'm here. These are your people. Double down on them. Invest your limited emotional energy into these relationships. They are your foundation right now. Second, you have the mutuals, the couple friends. This is the trickiest category. The hard truth is, some of these friendships will not survive in their current form. The worst thing you can do is try to force it or demand loyalty. It puts them in an impossible position and almost always backfires. Your best move is to give them grace. Reach out to them individually, not as a couple. Say something like, hey, I know this is an awkward situation for you, and I want you to know I value our friendship. I'm not asking you to choose sides. I just wanted to let you know I'm still here. This takes the pressure off. It allows the friendship to find its new, natural level. Some will drift away. Let them. It hurts, but it's better than clinging to something that's no longer real. Third, there are the ones who disappear. The ghosters. Let me be clear. This is a reflection of their own discomfort, not your worth. People avoid pain. They avoid awkwardness. They see your divorce and it reminds them of their own marital vulnerabilities, or they simply don't know what to say. Grieve the loss of that friendship, but do not internalize it as a personal failure. You are going through a massive life event. The people who can't handle that were never meant to be in your next chapter anyway. Consider it a painful but necessary clearing of the decks. Okay, you've got your statement, you've triaged your friends. Now comes the hard part. Actually going out. Walking into a party, a barbecue, a restaurant alone. The first few times, it will feel like you have a giant, flashing neon sign above your head that says, newly divorced. Every laughing couple will feel like a personal insult. Your brain will scream at you. Everyone is staring. Everyone knows. Here's the secret. They're not. And even if they are, who cares? You have to desensitize yourself to the fear. Start small. Don't make your first solo outing a wedding. Go to a coffee shop with a book. Go to a matinee movie by yourself. Sit at the bar of a restaurant and have a nice meal, just you. These are low-stakes missions designed to do one thing. Prove to your nervous system that you can exist in public, alone, and the world will not end. You are retraining your brain to associate alone with peaceful or independent, not lonely or pathetic. When you're ready for a bigger event like a party, give yourself a job. This is a classic trick for introverts and it works wonders here. Your job isn't to be the life of the party. Your job is to help the host clear some plates, or to find the dog and pet it for 10 minutes, or to have one meaningful conversation with one person you already know. Having a small, achievable mission gives you a sense of purpose and stops you from just standing in a corner, nervously clutching a drink and scanning the room. And give yourself an exit strategy. Tell yourself you'll stay for 1 hour. If after an hour you're having a great time, fantastic. If you're miserable, you have full permission to leave. You showed up. That's the victory. Finally, let's script some answers for those other well-meaning, but incredibly invasive questions. When someone says, "Oh, I was so sorry to hear," your line is, "Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm doing well though." It's polite, it accepts their sympathy, but it closes the door. When they ask, "So are you dating yet?" This one feels so personal. Your best bet is a light, breezy deflection. "Oh wow, I'm not even thinking about that right now. I'm just enjoying having my weekends to myself." Or a humorous one. "I'm currently in a very committed relationship with Netflix and my couch." It signals that you're not ready to talk about it, and you're not taking it too seriously. And what about the person who wants to tell you their entire, horrifying divorce story? You have to shut this down gently but firmly. "It sounds like you went through a really tough time. I'm actually trying to keep a really positive focus right now, so I'd rather not get into the heavy stuff. But tell me, what's new with you?" You are not a sponge for their negativity. You have a right to protect your own fragile peace. This isn't about being fake. It's about being strategic. You're building social scaffolding around yourself while you heal. You are learning to navigate the world not as half of a whole, but as a complete person in your own right. And something amazing happens when you start doing this. When you walk into a room holding your head high, when you handle an awkward question with grace, when you enjoy a meal in your own company, you start to believe it. The armor you put on starts to feel less like a costume and more like your own skin. You're not just performing confidence, you are building it, one conversation, one coffee shop, one party at a time. And that deep, authentic confidence is the foundation for everything that comes next. It's the quiet power that will attract new people, new opportunities, and a new life that is entirely, unapologetically, your own. Now, with that foundation of self-worth beginning to set, it's time to turn our attention outward. Because standing between you and that new life are some very real, very intimidating giants. I'm talking about the practical, messy, and often terrifying trinity of post-divorce reality. Your finances, your home, and the legal loose ends. Think of this as the next level of the game. You've been powering up your character, and now it's time to face the bosses. Let's start with the biggest one, the one that keeps people up at night, staring at the ceiling, heart-pounding: money. The financial fallout of a divorce can feel like a tsunami. One day you're part of a financial unit, and the next you're standing in the wreckage trying to figure out how to build a shelter with half the materials you thought you had. Maybe you went from 2 incomes to 1. Maybe you were a stay-at-home parent and are now facing a job market for the first time in a decade. The fear is real. It's visceral. Acknowledge it. Let yourself feel that jolt of panic. But don't let it paralyze you, because clarity is the antidote to fear. Your first mission is to gain absolute ruthless clarity. You need to create a new budget. And I don't mean tweaking the old family spreadsheet. I mean you take a blank piece of paper, a fresh spreadsheet, and you build what I call your freedom budget. This isn't about restriction. It's about revelation. It's about understanding every single dollar that comes in and every single dollar that goes out in your new life. Track everything for 30 days. The morning coffee, the streaming subscriptions, the insurance premiums. Everything. This document is your new best friend. It doesn't judge you, just gives you the facts. It tells you the truth of your new financial reality, and from that truth you can build a plan. While you're doing this, you need to perform financial surgery. It's time to separate everything. Joint bank accounts? Close them. Transfer your share to a new account that is in your name and your name only. Joint credit cards? Call the company, have your name removed, or close the account entirely. You cannot be responsible for debt that someone else is racking up post-divorce. This is non-negotiable. Then pull your credit report. All three of them, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. You need to know exactly where you stand and check for any surprises. This isn't about snooping. It's about protecting your future. This is your financial declaration of independence. And remember, the divorce decree might be signed, but the costs don't just stop. There are hidden expenses everywhere. The cost of moving. The price of new furniture because you couldn't stand to look at that old couch one more day. Maybe you need a new car. Your freedom budget needs to account for these one-time hits. It's about anticipating, not reacting. You are the CEO of your life incorporated now, and a good CEO knows their numbers cold. They don't operate on hope. They operate on data. This process is empowering. It takes the giant, shadowy monster of money problems and breaks it down into a series of manageable, solvable equations. Next, let's talk about the second giant, the one that's less about numbers and more about heartstrings, the house. For many, this is the most emotionally charged asset of all. It's not just drywall and a mortgage. It's the wall where you marked your kids' heights. It's the kitchen where you hosted Thanksgiving. It's the backyard where the dog used to run. The memories, good and bad, are baked into the very foundation. And the thought of leaving it can feel like a second divorce, a deeper loss. So the big question looms, should you keep the house? The temptation, especially if you have children, is to say yes immediately. You want to provide stability. You want to cling to the one piece of the old life that still feels solid. But I need you to ask yourself a very tough, very honest question. Is this house a sanctuary or an anchor? A sanctuary is a place that supports your new life. A place where you can afford to live peacefully and build a future. An anchor is something that drags you down, financially and emotionally, keeping you chained to a past that no longer exists. Let's get practical. Can you truly, comfortably afford the mortgage, the property taxes, the insurance, and the inevitable repairs on your new single income? The leaky roof doesn't care that you're going through a tough time. The water heater will blow when it wants to. The emotional desire to keep the house can be a trap that leads to financial ruin. Often, the bravest and smartest decision is to sell. To take your share of the equity and make a truly fresh start in a place that fits your new budget and your new life. Buying out your ex is another option, but it requires careful financial planning. Whatever you choose, make the decision with your head, informed by your freedom budget, not just with a heart full of nostalgia. Letting go of the house isn't admitting defeat. It's choosing a different kind of victory, a victory of financial freedom and a future you control. Finally, we face the third giant, which is less a giant and more of a hydra with 1,000 heads made of paper, the legal aftermath. You think because the divorce is final, the paperwork is done. I'm sorry to tell you, that's rarely the case. There is a blizzard of documents and details that you must handle, or they will come back to haunt you. This is about closing every single legal loop so that your past is truly in the past. Start with your estate plan, your will, your living trust, your power of attorney, your healthcare directive. Chances are, your ex-spouse is named in all of them. Do you want your ex making life or death medical decisions for you? Do you want them inheriting your assets if something happens to you tomorrow? The answer is almost certainly no. You need to see an attorney and update these documents immediately. This is not something to put on the back burner. It is urgent. Then, you need to go on a beneficiary audit. This is critical. Your 401k, your IRA, your life insurance policies, your pension. Every single account with a named beneficiary needs to be reviewed. The divorce decree does not automatically change these. If you forget to change your life insurance beneficiary from your ex-husband to your children, and you pass away, the insurance company is legally obligated to give the money to your ex-husband. It happens more often than you can possibly imagine. It's a devastating and entirely avoidable mistake. Make a list, call every financial institution, and update those forms. Get written confirmation. And don't forget titles and deeds. Is your car title in both names? Get it changed. Is your name still on the mortgage of the house your ex kept? You need to ensure they are refinancing to get your name off that loan. Otherwise, their failure to pay could destroy your credit. This is the nitty-gritty, unglamorous work of rebuilding. It's tedious. It's annoying. But every form you sign, every account you update, is another brick you are laying in the foundation of your new independent life. It's the act of severing the final ties and ensuring that your future, your assets, and your legacy belong to you and you alone. Slaying these three giants, finances, the home, the legal loose ends, isn't just about administrative tasks. It's a profound act of taking back control. It's the moment you stop being a victim of circumstance and become the architect of your own destiny. And yet, an architect can't build a skyscraper on a foundation of emotional quicksand. Once the papers are signed and the moving trucks have pulled away, you are left alone in the quiet, and that quiet can be deafening. This is where the real gut-wrenching, soul-shaping work begins. This is the journey inward, because while you've been battling logistical giants, an emotional tsunami has been gathering force just offshore. For some, it crashes down immediately. For others, it's a slow creeping tide that rises in the dead of night. Let's be brutally honest about what this feels like. It's a chaotic, unpredictable storm of emotions that defy logic. One minute you might feel a dizzying sense of relief, of freedom, like a prisoner tasting fresh air for the first time. You blast your music, you eat ice cream for dinner, you think, I'm finally free. And then an hour later, a wave of grief so profound hits you that it physically hurts. It's an ache in your chest, a lump in your throat, a hollowness that echoes with every beat of your heart. You might feel rage, a white-hot volcanic anger at your ex, at the circumstances, at the universe itself. And right alongside it, you can feel an overwhelming sadness for the person you hurt, or for the person you once loved. This is the paradox of post-divorce life. You can feel liberated and trapped, hopeful and terrified, strong and fragile, all in the same day. Society, our friends, even our own inner critic, tells us to pick a lane, to get over it or to be strong. But that's not how healing works. Healing is not a straight line, it's a tangled mess. Your first and most important task on this internal journey is to give yourself permission to feel it all without judgment. Your feelings are not the enemy. They are simply messengers, signals from your deepest self telling you what needs to be acknowledged, processed, and eventually healed. Trying to suppress them is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. Sooner or later, it's going to burst to the surface, and usually with more force than before. One of the most misunderstood parts of this process is what you're actually grieving. Yes, you are grieving the past. The shared memories, the inside jokes, the comfortable rhythm of a life lived together. You'll be ambushed by memories at the grocery store when you see their favorite brand of coffee, or when a song comes on the radio that you once called your song. But the deeper, more painful grief is often for the future. You are mourning a future that will never happen. The retirement you planned, the trips you were going to take, the image you had of growing old together. You're grieving the empty chair at future holiday dinners, the person who won't be there to see your kids graduate or get married. You're grieving the death of a dream, and that is a loss as real and as valid as any other. Acknowledging this, that you're not just sad about what was, but devastated about what will never be, is a critical step toward understanding the depth of your own pain. This loss of a shared future triggers something else, something terrifying, an identity crisis. For years, maybe decades, a huge part of your identity was wrapped up in being a we. You were John's wife or Sarah's husband. You were part of a couple. Your social life, your routines, your very sense of self were intertwined with another person. Now that's gone, and in its place is a giant gaping question mark. Who am I now? You are no longer part of a unit. You are an I. This can be incredibly disorienting. Friends might not know how to act around you. Some may even choose sides, and your social circle can shrink overnight. You go from having a built-in partner for everything, from weddings to weeknight dinners, to facing a calendar full of empty spaces. This isn't just about being alone. It's about feeling like a fundamental piece of who you are has been amputated. So how do you navigate this internal wilderness? You don't do it by simply toughing it out. You do it by intentionally building a toolkit for emotional reconstruction. The single most powerful tool in this kit is professional help. Let's destigmatize this right now. Seeing a therapist after a divorce isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of profound strength. It's like hiring a master architect to help you survey the damage and draw up new blueprints. A good therapist provides a safe, neutral space where you can say the unsayable, feel the unfeelable, and untangle the emotional knots that you can't see on your own. They can give you strategies for managing grief, coping with anger, and rebuilding your self-esteem from the ground up. It is an investment in your own future, and it's one of the wisest you will ever make. Another essential tool is a pen and paper. Journaling is your private sanctuary. It's a place where you can have a conversation with yourself without any filter. You can write down your rage, your fears, your pettiest thoughts, and your most hopeful dreams. The act of translating the chaos in your head into words on a page is incredibly powerful. It gives form to your feelings, which makes them less overwhelming. It helps you spot patterns in your thinking. Over time, your journal becomes a record of your journey, a testament to how far you've come, a reminder on your darkest days that you have survived before, and you will survive again. And then there's your support system. This is not the time for stoicism. This is the time to lean on the people who truly love you. But you have to be specific. Saying, "I'm having a hard time," is vague. Saying, "I'm feeling incredibly lonely tonight. Could we just talk on the phone for 15 minutes?" is an actionable request. People want to help, but they often don't know how. You need to be the director of your own support team. Identify the friend who is a great listener, the family member who can make you laugh, the neighbor who can help you with a practical task. Curate your circle. And be wary of those who offer empty platitudes or try to rush your grieving process. You need empathy, not solutions. You need presence, not platitudes. Finally, we have to talk about loneliness. This is the quiet monster that visits in the evenings, after the kids are in bed, or on a Sunday afternoon when the world seems to be full of happy couples. The silence of the house can feel like a physical weight. It's in these moments that the temptation to numb the pain, with alcohol, with casual dating, with endless scrolling, is at its strongest. But the key is to distinguish between being alone and being lonely. Being alone can be a time of rediscovery and peace. Being lonely is a painful state of disconnection. The antidote to loneliness isn't just being around people. It's fostering genuine connection. Start small. Make a plan to call one friend every week. Join a book club, a hiking group, a volunteer organization. Find something that interests you, not the you from your marriage, but the you that you are becoming. Re-engaging with the world on your own terms, based on your own passions, is how you begin to fill that echoing quiet, not with noise, but with purpose. This internal work, facing the grief, questioning your identity, building your emotional toolkit, is the hardest part of the entire process. It's messy, it's painful, and it takes far longer than anyone wants it to. But this is the work that matters most. Because you are not just clearing away the rubble of your old life. You are laying a new foundation, one built not on a shared dream, but on your own individual resilient self. You are rewriting your own story, and for the first time in a long time, you are the sole author holding the pen. And as the author of this new chapter, you get to decide who the supporting characters are. But this is where one of the most painful and disorienting parts of divorce hits you like a tidal wave. The social fallout, the great friendship divide. Suddenly, people you've spent holidays with, vacation with, whose kids grew up with your kids, they get weird. Phone calls go unreturned. Invitations dry up. You see pictures on social media of a barbecue you would have been at, a get-together you weren't invited to. It's a quiet, brutal culling of your social circle. And it feels like a second divorce, a death by 1,000 tiny cuts of social rejection. The truth is, most friendships are built on convenience and context. And for years, your context was being part of a couple. You were a package deal. When the package breaks, many people simply don't know what to do with the individual parts. They don't want to choose sides. So in a feat of social cowardice, they implicitly choose neither. Or worse, they choose the side that's more convenient for them, the one that keeps their own social life intact with the least amount of awkwardness. It's not always malicious, but it feels that way. It feels like a judgment. It feels like you've been voted off the island of normalcy. So here you are, standing in the silence of your own home, holding the pen to a story with empty pages where friends used to be. The loneliness can be suffocating. It's the deafening quiet on a Saturday night. It's having amazing news or devastating news, and realizing your first call is no longer an option, and your second and third calls are now hesitant. This is the moment you must shift from being a passive character in a shared social life to the active architect of your own community. This isn't just about making new friends. This is about intentionally building a support system that reflects who you are now and who you are becoming. The first step is a courageous and honest inventory. Look at who is left, who reached out, who checked in without needing to be asked, who just listened without offering platitudes or taking sides. These people are your gold. They are the ones who saw you, not just the couple. Pour your energy into them. Nurture these connections. These are the foundational pillars of your new social structure. Don't feel guilty if this list is painfully short. It's about quality, not quantity. One true ally is worth 100 fair-weather friends. Next, it's time to become an archaeologist of your own past. Dig up the friendships that existed before your marriage or outside of it. That friend from college you exchanged Christmas cards with? Call them. That old coworker you always had a great laugh with? Send them a text. These people knew you as an individual. They knew your dreams, your quirks, your essence before it was blended with someone else's. Reconnecting with them is like finding a missing piece of your own personal history. It's a powerful reminder that you were a whole, complete, and interesting person before you were a spouse, and you are still that person now. Now for the hardest part, building from scratch. The idea of making new friends as an adult in America feels, well, it feels like trying to break into Fort Knox with a plastic fork. It's daunting. We're all busy, we're all guarded, we're all stuck in our routines. But here's the secret. Millions of other people are feeling the exact same way. They're looking for connection too. You just have to put yourself in the path of discovery. This is not about going to a bar and hoping to strike up a conversation. This is about leveraging your interests to find your tribe. That passion you put on the back burner during your marriage? Now is its time to shine. Did you love hiking? Go on Zillow for the soul and look up local hiking groups on Meetup or Facebook. There are groups for every level, from beginners to seasoned trail runners. You don't have to be a social butterfly. You just have to show up. The mountain, the trail, the shared love of the outdoors, that's the icebreaker. The conversation will happen naturally. Do you love to learn? Sign up for a community college class. Not for a degree, but for the sheer joy of it. A pottery class, a creative writing workshop, a course on Italian cinema. You will instantly be in a room with people who share at least one of your passions. That's a powerful starting point. Volunteer. Find a cause that sets your soul on fire. An animal shelter, a local food bank, a community garden. Working side by side with someone towards a common goal is one of the fastest ways to forge a genuine bond. It bypasses the small talk and gets straight to shared values. For the next 90 days, I want you to adopt a new personal policy. The power of yes. When a coworker invites you out for a drink after work, even if you're tired, say yes. When your neighbor mentions their book club, and you haven't read a book in a year, ask if they're accepting new members. Say yes. When that old friend you reconnected with suggests a weekend trip, even if it feels extravagant, find a way to say yes. You have to break the inertia of isolation. Loneliness loves a routine of staying home. Your job is to disrupt that routine, to create as many opportunities as possible for serendipitous connection. It will be awkward at first. You will have conversations that go nowhere. You will meet people you don't click with. That's not failure. That's data collection. You're learning what you like, who you vibe with. You're practicing a skill that has gotten rusty. Every awkward coffee meeting is a rep at the social gym. You're getting stronger. And here is the most beautiful part of this entire process. Every new person you meet, every new friend you make, will have no preconceived notions of you. They didn't know you as part of a couple. They won't see you through the lens of your divorce. They will meet you as you are right now. The stronger, wiser, more self-aware version of yourself that has walked through fire and is still standing. They will be friends with your soul, not your social status. This isn't about replacing what you lost. You're not trying to recreate the exact same social life with different faces. That life belonged to a different version of you and a different chapter of your story. This is about curating a community that aligns with your authentic self. A community that supports your growth, celebrates your independence, and loves you for who you are, standing on your own 2 feet. These new connections and the rekindled old ones, they are more than just names in your phone. They are the rebar in your new foundation. They are the people who will bring you soup when you're sick, who will watch your kids in an emergency, who will be the first to toast your successes. Building this community is not a distraction from your healing. It is an essential part of it. It's the process of weaving yourself back into the fabric of the world, not as half of a whole, but as a complete, vibrant, and deeply connected individual. You are not just the author. You are now the casting director, and you get to fill your story with characters who deserve to be there. And perhaps the most daunting casting call of all is for the role of a new romantic partner. The very thought can send a jolt of anxiety through your system. It's a stage you might feel you're not ready to step onto, and that's perfectly okay. The world of dating can feel like a foreign country, one where you don't speak the language and all the maps have been redrawn since you were last there. The fear is real. It's the fear of being vulnerable again, of getting it wrong, of having your heart so carefully pieced back together, risked once more. Let's acknowledge that fear. Let's give it a seat at the table, but let's not give it the microphone. The single most common question is, when am I ready? People look for a formula 6 months, a year after the ink on the decree is dry. But the timeline isn't on a calendar. It's on your own internal compass. You're not ready when you're simply over your ex. You're ready when you're fully into yourself. You're ready when the prospect of a Saturday night alone with a good book or a project you love sounds just as appealing as a dinner date. You're ready when you're looking for someone to add to your already rich, fulfilling life, not someone to complete it or fill a void. The hole that your marriage left has to be filled by you, with your own interests, your own friendships, your own purpose. When you date from a place of wholeness, you attract whole people. When you date from a place of desperation, you attract people who prey on it. The goal isn't to find your other half. You are already whole. The goal is to find another whole person to walk alongside. And when you do decide to step out, you'll find the landscape has changed. Welcome to the era of the dating app. It can feel like a cold, transactional meat market. A game of swiping left and right that reduces human connection to a headshot and a witty bio. But let's reframe this. These apps are not a measure of your worth. They are simply a tool like a hammer or a screwdriver. They are a way to make introductions that might not have happened otherwise. Your value is not determined by the number of matches you get. The key is to use the tool, not let the tool use you. Be clear in your profile about who you are and what you're looking for. Honesty is magnetic. If you're not looking for anything serious, say so. If you are, say so. You will filter out the noise and attract people on the same wavelength. And remember, you are in control. You can take breaks. You can delete the apps for a week or a month if it feels overwhelming. This is your process on your timeline. Treat it as an experiment, a form of social anthropology. Go into it with curiosity, not with the crushing weight of expectation. Now let's talk about one of the greatest gifts your divorce gave you. A PhD in what you don't want. Your previous relationship, for all its pain, was a masterclass. It taught you about your non-negotiables. It's time to use that education. Think of it like building a new house. The old one had foundational cracks. Maybe the communication wiring was faulty. Maybe the emotional plumbing was always backing up. You wouldn't use the same flawed blueprint to build your new home, so why would you use it to build a new relationship? Get out a piece of paper and write down not what you want your next partner to look like, or what job they should have, but how you want to feel in your next relationship. Respected, heard, cherished, intellectually stimulated, safe. These are the pillars of your new foundation. These are the non-negotiables. This isn't a checklist to hold up against every person you meet. It's a compass to guide your intuition. When you're with someone, ask yourself, how do I feel in this person's presence? Do I feel more like myself or less? Your body, your gut, will know the answer long before your head does. When you do line up that first date, remember the new rules. The goal is not a marriage audition. The goal is a 1-hour conversation. That's it. Keep it low stakes. Coffee, a walk in the park, a drink after work. Something with a clear and easy exit. This isn't about efficiency. It's about managing your emotional energy. The purpose of a first date is simply to see if you want a second one. You are collecting data. Is this person kind to the waiter? Do they listen as much as they talk? Do they make you laugh? Does the conversation flow? That's all you need to figure out. Release the pressure of "is this the one?" and replace it with "is this interesting?" You will face rejection. It is an unavoidable part of the process. You will be ghosted. You will have great conversations that lead nowhere. You will feel a spark that isn't reciprocated. In the past, this might have felt like a devastating indictment of your worth. But the new you, the whole you, understands something critical: rejection is redirection. It is not a judgment on your value. It is a clarification of your path. If someone ghosts you, they have revealed their inability to communicate maturely. They have done you a favor. They have disqualified themselves. Every no you receive from someone else is clearing the way for the right yes. It's the universe filtering out the people who aren't meant for your story, saving you weeks, months, or even years of heartache. Now, for those of you with children, there's an entirely separate and profoundly important layer to this. You are not just dating for yourself, you are dating as a parent. Your children's emotional safety is paramount. The cardinal rule is this: you introduce a new partner to your kids only when the relationship is serious, stable, and has a clear, committed future. This is not something you do after 3 dates. This is something you do after many months, when you and your new partner have defined the relationship and are both certain about its longevity. Before that day ever comes, you talk to your kids. You let them know that you are dating, that you are meeting new friends, and that you are happy. Frame it around your own happiness, not around finding them a new mom or new dad. That role is already filled. When the time for an introduction finally comes, make it casual, short, and in a neutral territory. A trip to get ice cream, a brief stop at the park. It's not a family dinner. It's a low-pressure meeting. The goal is for your kids to meet daddy's friend Sarah or mommy's friend Mike. That's it. Then you watch and you listen. You check in with your kids afterward. You reassure them over and over that they are your number one priority, that this new person will never replace their other parent, and that your love for them is unchanging and absolute. You move at their pace, not yours. And finally, let's talk about intimacy. After a long-term marriage ends, physical intimacy can be a source of both excitement and terror. You may be contending with years of feeling undesired, or you may be grappling with your own changed body and self-image. The key here, as with everything else, is to go at your own pace. The first person you need to become intimate with again is yourself. Reconnect with your own body. Figure out what you like, what you want, what makes you feel good, independent of anyone else. When you do decide to be intimate with a new partner, communication is everything. It's about creating a space of safety and consent, where you can be vulnerable and honest about your fears and your desires. Sex after divorce isn't just a physical act. It's an act of reclamation. It's you reclaiming your body, your pleasure, and your identity as a whole sensual human being. This entire journey, the apps, the dates, the awkward conversations, the moments of connection, it's not just about finding someone. It is the final practical exam in the course of self-love you've been taking. Every interaction is a chance to practice holding your boundaries, to trust your intuition, to be honest about your needs, and to walk away from what doesn't serve you. The ultimate prize isn't a new relationship. The ultimate prize is the person you become in the process. Confident, discerning, and so deeply comfortable in your own skin that you know without a doubt that you will be more than okay, with or without a partner. You are the one you've been waiting for. Everyone else is just a wonderful potential bonus. And so, we arrive at the final and most important chapter of this roadmap. Not an ending, but a commencement. A graduation from the School of Hard Knocks, with a degree in resilience and a master's in self-awareness. You've journeyed through the fog of grief, navigated the treacherous terrain of logistics and loneliness, and rediscovered the person you are, independent of anyone else. You are whole, not because you found someone new, but because you found yourself. Now what? This is where the real work and the real joy begins. Everything up to this point has been about recovery, about healing, about getting back to zero. The rest of your life is about building into the positive. It's about taking the solid foundation you've so painstakingly laid and constructing a skyscraper of a life, one that touches the clouds. This is the chapter on legacy. Think of yourself not as a survivor of a shipwreck, but as the captain of a brand new vessel. You built it plank by plank. You know every joint, every sail, every weakness, and every strength because you crafted it yourself. The destination is no longer a frantic search for a safe harbor. The destination is wherever you point the bow. The journey itself has become the point. So let's talk about your legacy. That word might sound grand, reserved for presidents and philanthropists, but it's not. Your legacy is the story that will be told about you. It's the impact you have on the people in your life, big and small. And right now, you have a unique, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to consciously and deliberately design it. The old story was perhaps, they had a good marriage that ended. It's a passive story. Things happen to you. The new story is one you will write in the active voice. They faced a devastating loss, and from the ashes they built an empire of joy, a fortress of peace, a life so rich and authentic it inspired everyone around them. How do you do that? First, you embrace your role as a mentor. Whether you realize it or not, you are now an expert. You possess a PhD in navigating one of life's most brutal storms. There are people in your life, friends, cousins, co-workers, maybe even one day your own children, who will face this same storm. They will be terrified, lost, and drowning in the same waves that once crashed over you. And they will look to you. Your story, your survival is now a lighthouse. When you share your experience, not from a place of bitterness, but from a place of wisdom, you offer them a map. When you show them that it's possible to not only survive but to thrive, you give them the most powerful gift of all, hope. You transform your greatest pain into your greatest purpose. Your scars become a testament to the fact that wounds can heal, and that a person can be broken apart and put themselves back together, stronger and more beautiful than before. Don't hide your story. Own it. It's your superpower. Second, you build new traditions. The architecture of our lives is often built around family traditions, holidays, birthdays, Sunday dinners. Divorce shatters that architecture. The temptation is to either mourn the old traditions or try to awkwardly replicate them. I'm telling you to do neither. Become the architect of new rituals. This is your chance to create a culture for yourself and your family that is entirely your own. Maybe Thanksgiving is no longer a stressful, formal affair, but a Friendsgiving potluck on the beach. Maybe Christmas morning is now about a peaceful hike followed by movies and takeout, free from old obligations. For your children, this is especially critical. They've lost the world they knew. By creating new, fun, and consistent traditions, you're not trying to replace what was lost. You're showing them that life continues, that joy can be found in new forms, and that your family unit, in its new configuration, is still a source of stability, love, and celebration. You are teaching them the single most important lesson of all, that endings are not just about loss, they are about the opportunity for new beginnings. Third, you redefine wealth. For so long, you were part of a financial unit. Now, you are your own secretary of the treasury. But I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about a new kind of portfolio. Your wealth is now measured in different assets. It's measured in the richness of your friendships, the ones you nurtured when you felt most alone. It's measured in the peace of a quiet Saturday morning, where the only person you have to answer to is yourself. It's measured in the confidence you feel making a major decision on your own. It's measured in the freedom to pursue a hobby, change careers, or move to a city you've always dreamed of, simply because you want to. This is the portfolio of a sovereign life. Financial stability is the bedrock, yes, we've covered that. But true wealth, the kind that sustains you through anything, is a life rich in experiences, relationships, and inner peace. Start investing heavily in those assets. They pay dividends for a lifetime. And finally, the most crucial part of your legacy is the promise you make to your future self. It's a vow. It's a non-negotiable contract you sign with your own soul. Goes something like this. I will never again shrink myself to fit into a space where I don't belong. I will never again betray my own intuition. I will never again accept less than I deserve, in love or in life. I will honor the person I have fought so hard to become. I will protect my peace as if it is the most valuable treasure I possess, because it is. I will build a life so beautiful and so true to me, that the past becomes nothing more than the story of how I became this strong. I will not just survive. I will flourish. This journey of rebuilding your life after divorce is the hero's journey. It's the oldest story in the world. The hero is called to an adventure they did not choose. They are cast into the wilderness, where they must face down their greatest fears and slay their inner dragons. They are tested, they are broken, they are tempted to give up. But they don't. They find allies, they discover a strength they never knew they had. And they emerge from the darkness transformed. They return to the world not as the person who left, but as a master of their own destiny, carrying a wisdom that can only be earned in the fire. You are that hero. Your divorce was not the end of your story. It was the end of the prologue. It was the inciting incident that launched you into the main event. The pages ahead are blank. The pen is in your hand. The story of what happens next, the adventures, the triumphs, the love, the joy is yours to write. Look around you, at this incredible life you've started to build, at the person you see in the mirror, a person of substance, courage, and grace. You did this. You walked through hell and came out on the other side, ready to build a heaven of your own making. The roadmap has brought you here, to the edge of your new life. Now take a deep breath, and take the first step. Your future is waiting. Go live it.